Hey everybody, welcome back to Meals with Marsha. Today I'm going to make some homemade chicken nuggets. Now this is a little bit more difficult recipe. It is very doable, but it takes several steps and it takes a little time. I'm going to turn my camera just a little bit. So I'm going to take you step by step and I'm just going to fry one batch. I've got several batches to fry because when I do this, it kind of makes a mess and there's a lot of stuff you have to get out. So I just want to go ahead and do a large batch, because what you can do with these is once you cook them and you cool them on the paper towels over here that I have lined, you can bag them in a Ziploc bag and you can keep them for a couple of weeks in the refrigerator and just pull them out as many as you want at a time, and you can bake them. You can warm them up in the oven like 10 minutes in the toaster oven or the regular oven at 375. So these are really good. They don't last very long here. Whatever I make, that's usually what we eat within the first day or two. But I do try to share with my friends when I make these, because these are a family favorite, friend favorite, just a favorite. So these are great. I've been making these for a very long time, and I just don't make them every day because, like I said, there are several steps. But this is a good, if you're going to tear out and do it, you can get it done and you'll have plenty of it to eat and you'll enjoy it, okay? So let's get started. All right, I have some just self-rising flour. You can do all-purpose, but I just have self-rising. I use that just for about anything. It really don't make a difference. And I'm going to have to double this recipe because I have a lot of chicken that I'm going to cook. So the regular recipe is 1.5 cups of flour, but I'm going to double that. Okay, so this is a 1/3 cup scoop. So I need, let's see, what is that? 3 times 3, I need 9. 1. There's my flour. That's 9 1/3 cups, which is 3 cups. All right, then I'm going to double my spices. So the original calls for 1/2 teaspoon of salt, so I'm going to do a whole teaspoon of salt because I'm doubling. I'm sorry, it's a 1/2 teaspoon of seasoned salt. I'm reading my recipe wrong today. So I'm going to do a whole teaspoon of seasoning salt. So I'm going to put that in there. Then it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I'm doubling that, so I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon of regular salt. It's not going to fit in there. So I'm going to, whoa, just a little too much. All right, and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, but I'm doubling, so I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Okay, that. And 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, but I'm doubling, so I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. And my paprika is not open. Let me see if I can get that with my nail there. If not, I thought I had one that was already open, but maybe not. Lord, these things are hard. Okay, so 1/2 teaspoon because I'm doubling, remember. And I will post the recipe in the pictures when I post this on my Facebook, and I'll try to post it on my YouTube also. And then we've got garlic powder. And that is 1/2 teaspoon, so I'm doubling, so I'm going to do a whole teaspoon. If I can get my measuring spoons here. Okay. And then I'm going to do, it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, but I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon. And I got to get my onion powder because I thought I didn't need that. So let me come get over here and get it. Whoop, and here I'm throwing stuff out of the cabinet. Sorry about that. So I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Okay. All right. Oh, wrong lid. Get all my lids back on. And I've got my oil heating right here. This is a little Fry Daddy. I've had this thing. I bought it at Walmart for like $20, like 20 years ago. They probably still have them, but you just plug it up, and it takes about 10 minutes to heat the oil. You just heat the oil, and I'll show you how I test it to make sure it's ready before we start. And I got that. Okay. All right, now let me get a spoon or a fork to start. Or I got a whisk. I can do this whisk right here. It'll be just fine. Just whisk all this together. We want all that seasoning to go into that flour together. Now, what I've done with my chicken is earlier this morning, I cut up my chicken into little bitty chunks, and I did 2 eggs, and I did 1.5 cups to 2 cups of buttermilk. The recipe calls for 1/2 cup of buttermilk, but I did 1.5 cups because I'm doing a lot. And then I did 2 eggs. The original recipe calls for 1, but I'm doubling. So I'm letting that soak because that needs to soak at least an hour or so. And here, you can even do it overnight. Say like you're prepping chicken and you got a big, large bag and you're like, well, I want to use some up for nuggets, some up for something else. You can prep that and go ahead and put it in the buttermilk and egg and let it soak. The longer it soaks, the more tender your chicken's going to be. So that's what you do with that. So we got our dry mixture all mixed up, and we're going to start pulling. This is messy. I'm just going to tell you right now. It's messy, but you're going to pull some of your chicken out of this liquid, and you're going to drop it into here, and you're going to dredge it. Now, I usually do 7 to 8 nuggets per batch when I fry. So I'll do, you know, maybe enough for 2 or 3 batches, so I'll have them breaded so they'll go quicker. And you see the size, they're just little nuggets. And all that liquid's gonna stick on there, and it's gonna cause that to make a good breading on there. So we're gonna do this. All right, so I'm just gonna take my hands and I'm just gonna draw them around. Just toss them around in that breading. All right, this is how I tell if my stuff's ready. When I do that, and that starts sizzling, I know that's ready. So the oil's ready. Let me get all these dredged up really good. Let me test one more time. Oh yeah, she's ready. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start dropping. I'm going to do 7 to 8 at one time. And my oil is clean. I did not, I'm going to time it for 3 minutes, okay? I'm going to set my timer because I'm bad. If I don't set my timer, I'll burn stuff. And we're just going to let it fry. And it takes about 3, sometimes to 4 minutes. Usually 3 if you cut them small enough. And while I'm waiting on that, I'm just going to move these over, the ones that I've already breaded. I'm going to move these over out of the way for the next batch. Then I'll start breading some more. Okay. I don't want that. Oh, that's a little bit of my paprika stuck together. We don't want that. We want the good stuff spread out everywhere. All right, let's bread some more. I got my pieces stuck. And I hate to use both hands. I try to use one. Sometimes you got to get that second one in there because you got to have something to dip these out in. So after they've been going a minute or so, just kind of toss them a little bit with your little spatula thing to make sure they're moving. Okay, we're starting to get brown. Like I said, my timer's on because if I don't time stuff, whoop, there I go, making a mess. If I don't time stuff, I wish I had, because I make a mess with it and I forget it and I burn it every time. That's what I do with stuff in the oven. I have to time things. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep breading and setting those to the side for the next batch. And it's good if you can do this in a casserole dish instead of a flat plate because it keeps from slinging so much out, except like what I did. Like I said, this is a family favorite. These are great to make and have in the refrigerator in the morning. You make you a pan of biscuits and you can have little chicken biscuits. That's a good thing to do with these. They're good to just make mashed potatoes or, you know, and have a chicken nuggets and mashed potatoes, or if you just have kids that like chicken nuggets and fries, or chicken nuggets with just ketchup, you know. These are great. Like I said, it's best if you do them in several batches at one time because it's a lot of work to drag all this out. So you want to do a bunch as you go so you don't have to dirty up the kitchen a million times. All right, I got about 30 seconds. I'm going to take this first batch out. I'm going to keep stacking these up over here as I bread them so I can still use this flour to bread the rest. Your flour seems a little clumpy after you've breaded it a couple of times. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. All right, we got 3 seconds. I got a hot mess right here in my hands, but I'm going to use my right hand to get these out. That's why you need to bread and work with one hand and dip out with the other. All right. So what I do with my nuggets is when I pull them out, I do them for 3 to 4 minutes. I did these 3 minutes. They look great. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my thermometer out and I'm going to make sure, because your chicken needs to be 165, okay? And I should have got my thermometer out before I started this hot mess. There it is. So we're going to stick them in there. See what we read. And we're hitting 170 looks like. So we got them cooked. They're done. As long as they reach 165, they're good. Okay? And this is the finished product. These are amazing. I'm going to finish batching these up, batch cooking these. And then when I get finished, I'll come back and I'll show you the whole finished product. Okay? I will talk to you soon. Welcome back, everybody, to Meals with Marsha. I am going to show you the finished result of all the chicken nuggets. I know we talked about the recipe. I did double the recipe. I'm going to read the recipe just if you were just doing single, okay? You would need 1 pound of chicken. You can do breast or you can do tenders, and you just chunk them up into little chunks. You do a 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 1 large egg, and then you whip that together and you put your pour that over your chicken and put it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours, even a day or two if you want to. The longer you marinate them, the better they are. And then you take a 1.5 cups of flour. You can use self-rising or all-purpose, and you do a 1/2 teaspoon of seasoned salt, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and you whisk that in with your flour, and then you pull the chicken out of the liquid mixture and you dredge it in that, and then you drop it in your little deep fryer. I used a Fry Daddy, heated my oil for 10 to 15 minutes, and then I dropped them and I cooked them between 2.5 to 3 minutes. I did start out doing 7 and 8 nuggets, but I had so many today I thought I'm going to do a little more than that. So I ended up doing 10 nuggets to a batch after that first batch. I got 96 nuggets. I doubled the recipe. I used 4 chicken breasts, and I doubled all the dredge and all the liquid, and I got 96 chicken nuggets. But this is a lot of work, but it's a lot better if you do it that way, because you're having to drag out all that stuff and make a mess. So this is my 1 plate. This is my next plate. And this is my last plate. So I have 96 chicken nuggets. So what I'm going to do is we'll eat these for lunch, but I'm also going to cool them, and then I'm going to put them in a freezer bag, like a Ziploc bag, and I will put those in the refrigerator, and they're good for 2 weeks in the refrigerator. And if you want to eat them, you just pull them out, however many you want. You preheat your oven to like 375, and you cook them for like 7 to 8 minutes, 10 at the most, just enough to warm them up. They crisp back up. They're great as just little snacks with any kind of different sauce, like barbecue, Polynesian, you know, honey mustard, whatever, ranch, ketchup, whatever you like. Or you can use them as your meat, and then you can have like, you know, mashed potatoes, corn, green beans, you know, vegetables, things like that. Today I'm going to have some mashed potatoes and some turnip greens. I love turnip greens. I'm going to have that today with mine. But you can do them any way you want. And like I said, they're really good. They're very kid-friendly. And they're great. They're just great. And also the oil that I use today is I use vegetable oil, because that's what I had. I usually buy canola oil, Vegetable or canola is fine to put in. You want something that, you know, you can heat up high and it's okay. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to put this on my Facebook page, and I'm going to put it on my YouTube page, Meals with Marsha. Please go and look at my Meals with Marsha and subscribe on YouTube if you can. And if you try this recipe, please post pictures of what you've done and let me know how it works. I'm going to try to put a picture of my handwritten recipe on there, so you know, because it is a lot to kind of remember. But I hope you enjoy, and I'll talk to you later.